Hey guys, it's Angel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a simple meal for one. This meal is really easy to make in under 20 minutes or less, and it's pretty much what I've been eating lately because I haven't had a lot of time. My grandma had a fall recently and she broke her collarbone, so I haven't had the extra time to make the elaborate family style meals that I love making. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a pork chop along with oyster mushrooms. We're going to grill those in one pan, and it's going to be very simple yet very delicious. So if you guys are interested in what I eat in a day for a simple meal, keep watching. For this recipe, I'm starting with pork chop. Now this is actually a Berkshire pork chop. The meat is known to be extra juicy and tender and very flavorful. You can see I got this bone in, and there's also a nice layer of fat and marbling on the outside and within the pork. It's very delicious, and this only cost me about $7.50. Now the next thing I have here are oyster mushrooms. Normally I eat about half of this, so this will cost about $2.50 for one portion. In addition, we will need Yuzu Kosho. And Yuzu Kosho, if you don't know what this is, it's a Japanese condiment and it has very nice citrusy smell. So inside is a bit of juices and zest from the Japanese yuzu fruit, and it adds like a really bright citrus taste to any type of dish, and we're going to pair that with the meat. It's a green paste and it has a slightly spicy hint to it. We will also need some grass-fed butter. I'm using Kerrygold's pure Irish butter here. And finally, some salt and pepper to taste. The first thing we're going to do is wash our oyster mushrooms. So I'm going to take half out and we're just going to give them a quick rinse. And to make it cook easier, I'm just going to hand tear them apart like so. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. I just find it's easier to cook if they're into smaller pieces. Now I'm going to give this a super quick rinse. I don't want the mushrooms to sit and soak in the water because they'll absorb a lot of the water. So super quickly rinse them out, and then we're going to dry them. And just to make sure that they're dry before we cook them, I'm just going to let them dry on this towel and give them a nice pat. Perfect. Now we're going to set these aside in a dish, and then we're going to start to cook our pork. So the first thing we'll do is preheat our oven. I'm going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees. Now I've got my cast iron pan out. We're going to preheat that to about medium-high heat. All right, now we're gonna give that a few minutes to heat up, and once that's heated up, we'll start to cook. Before I put the pork on, I'm just going to season it with a little salt and pepper. Little salt and some pepper. I'm going to season one side with salt and pepper, and that's going to be the side that we're gonna grill on first, and then when I flip the pork chop, we're gonna add a bit more salt and pepper on the other side. Okay, the pan is heated up, and I'm just going to add 1 tablespoon of butter directly to the pan. Swirl that around. Now I'm going to add the pork chop directly to the pan, season side down. While that's cooking, I'm going to season the top side with more salt and pepper. And we're going to let this side grill for about 2 to 3 minutes. We'll want to grill 2 to 3 minutes on each side, and depending on the thickness of your pork chop, you can finish it off in the oven. All right, it's been about 2.5 minutes. Now I'm just going to flip, and we're going to brown the other side. All right, now it's been about 2.5 minutes, and this side does look nice and brown. I'm going to transfer this over to a sheet pan and we're going to finish this off in the oven. So that pork chop was a little over an inch thick, almost an inch and a half. So we're gonna watch it, but I think we're gonna be cooking it off and finishing it off in the oven for about 7 to 8 minutes. It's a little smoky in here. Okay. And while the pork chop is cooking, let's start on sauteing our oyster mushrooms. Same pan, you don't need to clean it. Turn the heat on. This time we're going to do like a medium low. And we're just going to add a little bit more butter. There's still some residual butter and juices in the pan. Totally okay. About a tablespoon. And then our oyster mushrooms. Just gently saute in the butter. And we're going to saute for probably about 5 to 8 minutes. Feel free to adjust the temperature lower if you need to as you go. And we're also going to season with a little bit extra salt and pepper. And here I'm using some sea salt flakes. Wow, it smells so good already. I love the colors of the oyster mushrooms, and I can already tell this is going to be delicious with the pork chop. All right, the timer just went off for the pork. So actually the mushrooms are done right now. I'm just going to turn the pan off and we'll let the mushrooms sit here in this warm pan, and that keeps it warm while we take the pork out to rest. Now I'm going to transfer this to my cutting board and we're going to let this rest for 5 minutes before cutting. All right, now I like to serve mine right with the mushrooms directly on the same cutting board or plate because I'm a little lazy to wash dishes. After all, this is an easy one-person meal. And here's where we're going to serve it with our Yuzu Kosho. So a little goes a long way. This is very salty, but in a good way. Smells so good. Okay, so I'm going to take just a little scoopful and we're going to put that directly on the cutting board. And also, I like to finish it with a little bit of sea salt flakes. But I'm going to put that on the side here. And that's it, we're done. We're ready to serve, and this is how I like to have my quick and easy, simple pork chop and oyster mushroom meal. So pork chop and oyster mushrooms, super easy to make, and let's do the taste test. All right, I'm going to cut a little piece off here. Wow, that looks really juicy. I'm going to add a little bit of sea salt to the top of that and a little bit of Yuzu Kosho. Wow, the pork was perfectly cooked, super juicy and tender, and pairing it with the Yuzu Kosho, it just gives it a nice bright citrusy taste. Very delicious. Now I'm going to try it with some oyster mushrooms now. Wow, mushrooms sauteed in butter are delicious. Now, oyster mushrooms, if you haven't had them before, I feel like it has a more complex taste than your traditional button mushrooms or cremini mushrooms. I love the taste of this with either steak or a grilled pork chop like we did today. So as you can see, this was really easy to make. All of these ingredients were about $10 and we made this in one pan in about 20 minutes. So really simple, and again, low carb if you guys are on low carb diets. I love eating this meal. It's very delicious and also very healthy. I'm Angel, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video on what I usually eat in a day, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And as my grandpa would say, sharing a meal with a fascinating stranger is one of life's true delights. So until we can share that meal together with our simple grilled pork chop and oyster mushrooms, take care, I love you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!